Rulemaking process in Chapter 120 of the Florida statutes. Today is Wednesday, December 17th, 2025, and I'd like to call this public hearing to order. The time is 6 p.m. I ask that out of respect to everyone, please silence all electronic devices at this time. If you have any material you wish to share with any of us, please give that to our assistant right here, Executive Assistant Mrs. Moray. At this time, I'd like everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to recognize the superintendent for the purpose of this public hearing.
Madam Chair, we are here, as you just referenced, to approve the innovation item that is coming before the board tonight.
Okay. So the item that we have is the discussion for approval of the district's operational innovation and efficiency planning initiative. And I believe we're going to mesh that now with the amended approval of the district's operational innovation and efficiency planning initiative rulemaking process in Chapter 120 of the Florida statutes. So, at the school board business meeting held October 27, 2025, the superintendent presented the recommendations for the district's operational innovation and efficiency planning initiative. After a robust discussion, the school board voted to waive and extend the deadline in policy 5121, controlled open enrollment, to extend the school choice application window to February 6 of 2026. In order for and to provide families with sufficient time to make informed decisions pertaining to the anticipated presentation and adoption of the associated rezoning and boundary changes. The school board also discussed the timeline for the potential approval and implementation of the district's operational innovation and efficiency planning initiative, which included a public hearing on November 17, 2025. The district held several community, parents, and staff information sessions at various schools, J.A. Thompson Administration Center and the town hall meetings in North County on November 18, 2025, and South County on November 19, 2025. This special meeting, public hearing, is to go through the rulemaking process in Chapter 120 of the Florida statutes, which governs the rezoning and boundary determination process. This item deals with the approval of the district's operational innovation and efficiency planning initiative rulemaking process in Chapter 120 Florida statutes. Dr. Moore, have you documented that this public hearing was properly advertised in accordance with state statutes?
I have.
We now recess this meeting to conduct a public hearing as advertised. The public hearing is now in session. The time is 6:03. Dr. Moore, are there any written responses to the advertised public hearing to be read at this time?
Not at this time.
The public is invited to address only this issue at this time. Is there any individual representing an organization or his own personal or public interest who wishes to speak? Come to the podium.
Nobody else wants to raise your hand? Come on, guys. Hi there. My name is Zachary Wiggers. I'm the treasurer of the Indian River County Education Association. I'm also a teacher of financial algebra at Sebastian River High School. I spent like 2 days trying to write this, and I still don't know what I want to say. But I was watching a movie yesterday that my mother likes to watch every Christmas Eve before we go to midnight mass, and It's a Wonderful Life. And it got me to thinking of how eerily similar George Bailey's life is to the way we live our lives every day. The stresses that we include, the things we have to overcome, and all the things we need to do in order to make our community better for those after us. And what this initiative, in my opinion, does is it sets us and the people after us in our community up for success. It's one of the things that a lot of us struggle with, is just trying to understand where we fit and our impact in the world. George Bailey has that issue all throughout the movie. I'd be better off without him. And Clarence somehow finds a way to let him know, listen, it's not the case. It's a lot darker. Education has shown us since the renaissance that it will lift everyone up. Without education and what we do in public education, we would still be in a semi-feudal system from the 1850s. It built a middle class, it built a better America, and what we try to do is help our children become better citizens and better Americans in the future. And what we are doing, and what we hope to achieve with this plan, is to make sure that they get the attention and the education that they need to make better, sound decisions in the future. One of the things I'd also like to say is I know that this is the checkpoint in the year for all of us. We're about to go 2 days. We have 2 half days, and then we get to have 2.5 weeks off. I know that it's a struggle for some of us in education that go, I really want to come back in January. I don't know if I want to come back in January, but I'm going to be there. My books are still there, so I guess my laptop still logs in, so I'm okay. But I want to say that as we approach the new year, it brings new hope. Hope that lessons will sink in, that mnemonic devices will be remembered, that breath will not be wasted. Hope that bonds form with our students that are more covalent than ionic, and hope that at the end, we get to share in George's revelation that our impact on our community is far more than what we can see. So that's what I'd like to say. Thank you.
Thank you for adding a little chemistry to your talk. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? No?
Nobody?
All right, seeing no other speakers, I'll conclude that. And the announced public hearing for approval of district's operational innovation and efficiency planning initiative rulemaking process in Chapter 120 Florida statutes has been conducted pursuant to notice, and ample opportunity to address this issue has been provided to all. The board is now reconvened at this time. The time is 6:07. At this time, I'd like to call for a motion for approval of the district's operational innovation and efficiency planning initiative rulemaking process in Chapter 120 Florida statutes as noted.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, Mr. Dyer? Dr. Jones? All right, time for discussion. Anyone that would like to discuss this item? You want to present a little more?
I think so.
Okay, go ahead.
Just for a matter of clarity. So as we present the item, I want to begin with gratitude. Gratitude for the board. Several months ago, we began a discussion about innovation and stopped talking about innovation and really begin the work of innovating our school system. I think collectively, between the board, myself, our staff, we understand that public education needs drastic change. The levers that are being pulled across our nation to improve public education are shifting towards choice and change, providing a level of flexibility to meet the unique needs of our children and our community. And if you look at our industry as a whole, over the last 100 years, it's probably the one industry that has changed the least. So it is time for us to embrace innovation, listen to our parents, listen to our community, and provide quality education, just as referenced, that meets the needs of every single child. So this shift and change in practice, unlike a number of districts across the state, really the nation, we're responding to doing more with less to maximize the service and the resources that we can provide to our children. A deep analysis of who we are as a community and what our children deserve as a community. Gratitude for both of our unions. To say, hey, this is what we're thinking of doing. We don't want to do it to you. We want to do it with you. Work with us. Help us identify what is the best theory of action. What are the impacts on us as a group of individuals who believe the same, have different roles in our school system, but ultimately believe the same. And what do we got to do this collectively? Same thing with our teachers union. We're going to be shifting and changing practices drastically because that's what our community deserves for its children, but we're doing it collectively and together. You know, this item has a number of changes, but some of the changes that I'm absolutely the most proud of are changes that are happening at school sites. Not changes that are happening here at this dais, not changes that are happening at my office, changes that are being recommended to this board by those who are closest to children. And it has been truly powerful. I think we were walking into a meeting and Doc's like, well, what are we going to do? And I was like, well, Doc, whatever they want us to do. And sure enough, it has been powerful to watch school site teams come together, engage in conversation, have a deep understanding as to why we're making these recommendations and saying, hey, if it's best for our children and best for our community, let's roll up our sleeves. Gratitude for my team. I know I work at a clip, or I know I like to grind, but when this item says 22 meetings, those are just the documented meetings. It has been every night for almost 3 months, engaging in conversation, having town halls, meeting with faculties, following up with faculties, truly listening. And it has been absolutely wonderful to walk into a room filled with parents, and those parents have 100 questions, and us only have 42 answers. But as a result of listening, as a result of really, really understanding the concerns, the plan gets better. Some of the innovative things that we're doing really continue to grow based on really being unique in terms of responding to the needs of our community. So this has been a significant amount of work, and we truly have adopted a theory of action. Let's do the absolute hardest work we can possibly do and use it as an opportunity to improve the quality of our relationships, improve the strength of our beliefs, and use our beliefs and use our relationships to change and shift what public education looks like. And at the end of the day, what will happen, not only will we all be an A school district with all A schools continuing to move up towards that #1 spot, our relationships will strengthen. People will continue to look at what's going on in Indian River County and say, this is a system in which I want to place my children. So I'm just proud of the amount of work that has gone into this and how authentic and real that work has been. So just to kind of highlight some of the shifts and changes, let me say it for the 37th time. I'll do it relatively brief. In this move, the Freshman Learning Center, those children going into 9th grade next year will move into the main building. The main building number of years ago, had more number than the combined campuses currently have. They will fit. That will save about a recurring cost of $1.2 million that we can reinvest in our staffs and reinvest in the resources. It also has significant impact on making sure we can get children home on time because of the changing from one campus, picking up students and going to the other. Students at the current Oslo Middle School will then shift to the Freshman Learning Center under the new name of Vero Beach Middle School with a new mascot, Tomahawks. And I was traveling schools today. We just finished my 6th student superintendent's student council, so we weren't there for the innovation. We weren't there for those changes. But to listen to those students and their level of excitement of having the opportunity to engage at that campus and engage in the programming at Vero Beach Senior High School was really, really exciting to hear. Osceola Magnet School, one of our premier programs, will have the opportunity to expand options, what we know children want or families want, at the Oslo campus. So we'll move those over and then expand the opportunities to provide more choice into that high-demand program. Storm Grove Middle School, right next to us, that boundary will be eliminated and absorbed by the other 3 remaining middle schools. Next year's 7th and 8th graders, who are now 6th and 7th graders, will remain at Storm Grove. They will not be displaced, so they will continue on at that particular school. The students from Rosewood Elementary will come over, and they will be at Rosewood Magnet, same name, adopting a new mascot, the Stingrays, with a happier-looking stingray, Dr. Jacobs. And that was great conversation to see that, and that was the coming together of the 2 faculties. So to be part of that and see that conversation then translate back to the 2 particular campuses was truly powerful and very, very exciting. Glendale Elementary School boundary will be absorbed into Citrus Elementary School, that also will fit. And then we will spend the amount of time at Glendale Elementary School repurposing it to expand the programming for some of our district's most fragile students at Wabasso, because that school is at capacity, and we need to be able to expand offering for some of our most fragile students, and we need to do it with the appropriate amount of space. But we're going to have to retrofit that space in order to make sure that it's appropriate for those students. So we will move them probably next year. And then that concludes the overall recommendations. So, Madam Chair, that is the item.
Okay. Board members, Ms. Rosario?
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Moore, for that update. We've talked about this many times over the last several months, and so I'm grateful for that we're finally here at this point. I do have some questions. Some of the things that you just focused on with your summary were really Oslo Middle School, Osceola, I think you mentioned Osceola going to Oslo, but you didn't mention some of the other boundary changes here, and I'm going to give you the floor again just so you can share with parents, please, the plan for Glendale into Citrus, which I didn't hear you just now mention. You may have, but if you didn't, if you can mention that. Also Sebastian Elementary School, and Dodgertown is also here. So if you can.
Yeah,
talk a little bit about
absolutely. I did reference, but in terms of the boundary changes, which is a good point, thank you.
You're welcome.
The boundary for Glendale will be absorbed into Citrus Elementary School. So if you live in that particular zoned area for Glendale, you will now be transported to Citrus. They are very, very close to one another. The other boundary change is a very minor change, but in my mind, the appropriate change. There's a very small section very close to Dodger Elementary School, in which it's basically an apartment complex in which those students were being transported all the way out to Sebastian Elementary School. And it's been that way for a number of years. Because of choice, a number of those students were not even choosing to go on that long bus drive. They were choosing to go to a school closer to their home. But I believe because we are a district that is full choice, having to bus a student because they were black into a different school to have a ratio isn't something that we need to be doing in our current state. And the reality is our district is an extremely high-performing district. We meet the needs of all students, and parents need to have the opportunity to be zoned to the school that's closest to them. And if they want to choose to go somewhere else, then absolutely they should. So that zone will now move into the Dodgertown zone. And that is the only other boundary change.
But just to be clear, if any of those parents want to remain where they are, they absolutely can.
Absolutely, and they'll have the depot opportunity, which they currently have.
So question about the transition. How are these parents going to be allowed the time? Where is this time, and how is the communication going to happen with these parents, with all of the parents, in terms of requesting to remain where they are right now, or choosing to go to Dodgertown, for example? Same thing with Rosewood. You know, if those parents want to remain where they are, how is this transition going to happen at the ground level with these
Very
parents?
similar process than we followed last year, which is obviously be expanded. That process was each family that's at a current school that is either expanding a grade level, so a 6th grade going to 7th grade, in the middle school spaces, or the opportunity to remain at Sebastian, they will be individually contacted through the school office and identify, yes, I want to remain at my current location. And if they do not want to remain, they will be futured to their boundary school pending the outcome of choice. So before the choice window opens, every family will have declared, I plan on staying at my current location. So if you're staying at your current location, you'll have the opportunity to stay right there. You'll have nothing else other than declare that you're staying. So it'll be relatively very, very straightforward for those. I mean, of course, choice is going to be absolutely outstanding this year because of these changes. We anticipate an increase in students participating in choice. Right now, it's 1 in 4 students. We anticipate it going up even higher at the end of this choice window.
Okay, thank you for that. And the other questions that I have, this is actually a suggestion. Since we were talking about a lot of questions, since you mentioned that parents had hundreds of questions and we had 40-something answers.
We got the other 60 before.
I think it might be a good idea as a suggestion to adopt some kind of, or to create, not to adopt, to create some kind of information hotline. Phone number, if you have any questions, call this number. So there's one central location. I mean, clearly parents can go to their principal, but because things are so fluid, if there were one district hotline number, parents would be able to call that number, leave a message, and they'd get a, single message rather than, 5 different messages, and you know how that goes. If not that, maybe even an email hotline, right? innovate@indianriverschools.org or something like that, something informational so that they can either call or email. And this way we can, at the district level, kind of funnel those questions. And it also gives us a really good view, a really good insight into what are the concerns of our community with regard to these transitions. And finally, there might be some things that we haven't paid attention to, we haven't thought of. And through these questions and these concerns, it might actually raise something of like, oh, we haven't considered that. What are your thoughts?
So we do have an innovation page. So if it doesn't have already the link to submit that information, it's been ongoing. But I wholeheartedly agree that that point of contact, as we move into recruitment season, questions will continue. And I once again have to commend the team in terms of identifying those 60 questions that we had, circling back with the entire team. What are the responses? I think when we get into the new year and you see what's being produced for the recruitment fair, we have done such an outstanding job. There will be things that we miss because we're human, but identifying what parents really, really want to know. How are they going to get to their school? And then playing that forward. The work really is going to be challenging as we move an entire school to a new campus and making, typically when you're a kindergarten, you just follow the parent in front of you as to like how you do drop-off. No one's going to know how to do drop-off in some schools. So the volume of training to make sure that we have a pleasant first week of school is going to be absolutely significant, and communication will be key in order to ensure our success.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. There are 2 other general concerns. One regarding an email that we all received from Mr. Green today about the renaming of Oslo, and a gentleman by the name of Mr. Helseth being very concerned that the Oslo name, which was originally given to Oslo Middle School by his grandfather, and that it originated from his family heritage, from Oslo, Norway. As I read that, I thought, obviously, it breaks my heart. I don't know what we're going to do about that, but I'd like to ask Mr. Green, because I know that you reached out to Mr. Helseth, if you can just give us a little bit of update on that.
I was able to have a conversation with him and learned a lot about the family history, and just sharing, for example, if you remember Coach Thompson, who had Thompson Elementary, and after all those changes, we're now sitting in the J.A. Thompson Administrative Complex. So, and since he was a superintendent for a long time, this was the appropriate place to honor him across the district. So the conversation, we're going to touch base right after the holidays, is to work together to find ways to honor that and the materials that are in the hallway, Miss Patty apparently had brought some stuff when Chris Cummings was there and shared it in the hallway. So a lot of good dialogue and stuff that we'll be able to honor in those traditions, and we'll work on that as soon as the break is over.
Okay, so we are looking to keep the Oslo name somewhere, is that what I'm understanding?
To try and definitely incorporate that area, the Oslo property. The Oslo Road was named Oslo Road because it went through that Oslo area. So find ways to incorporate that so that legacy definitely stays with that facility.
Okay, I appreciate that, and it would really be important, I think, for us to find ways to honor his legacy. And then, Dr. Moore, can you talk a little bit about bus drivers and the bus depot, the concern with the North County Bus Depot originally not open, and then now the concern is, can we reopen it so that the North County or any of our bus drivers that live in Brevard can have a shorter distance to those buses in the morning? Can you update us on that? Because with all of these changes, clearly, there's another side, obviously, staff concerns, and I just wanted to ask you if you can talk a little bit about that.
So there are no changes that I'm considering regarding the elimination of a North Transportation Center.
Okay.
It was a suggestion made to me, not by my staff, but in terms of this item, absolutely not. And in terms of a cost-cutting initiative, I don't see that as something to consider.
Okay, so the North County Bus Depot will remain open?
Correct.
Okay, good. And then I'm going to come back to the plan here, the innovative plan. What page am I on? 1, 2, 3, I'm on the 4th page. What you have described here is, number 1, renaming of Oslo, number 2, maintaining Rosewood Magnet School. Are they going to Rosewood Magnet K-8?
Rosewood Magnet School, that name fits, and that it stays the same.
But it's not going to be a K-8?
No, the name, it is a K-8, but the school name is Rosewood Magnet.
Okay. But what I don't see here is any description of a phasing out of Storm Grove Middle School. So, I mean, clearly, it's obvious with not the closing out of Storm Grove Middle School as a middle school, but they're now going to co-locate, they're going to become one, right? Rosewood and the current Storm Grove students will become one school, but will there be a phasing out of the name Storm Grove, or is that going to disappear altogether? And that's the part that in here, it's not actually written.
So in terms of the approval of the item, yes, those students who are currently at Storm Grove Middle School will remain at the new name school, Rosewood Magnet, and they will, yes, phase out, still being provided transportation. And very similar in terms of what Mr. Green said, although the Storm Grove name will not be the official name of the school, very specific planning will take place to remember what that school has done, the championships that they have won. If you go in that school's gym, it's filled with the banners.
Yeah.
Those banners will
Right.
remain. Same thing as with Oslo. The name is changing, but that's really all that's changing. The accomplishments of the history of what was Storm Grove and what was Oslo is still part of the history of that school itself.
So I would recommend a quick amendment, maybe even a sentence or two that just says that the Storm Grove Middle School will no longer exist as Storm Grove. That's not in here. It's an easy fix, but it's just something that I think would be important for anybody who pulls this up. They'll be able to see that Storm Grove will now become Rosewood Magnet. And then the other question is, when will we receive plans for the current Osceola facility and the current Rosewood facility?
Rosewood facility, well, let me answer the question. I think by the end of January, it'll be a discussion item coming into January workshop, and then we will continue that conversation. At the Rosewood, we will begin the process, which will take a lengthy time, to request to demolish the classrooms themselves, while the front buildings will still be used for professional development as well as after-school care for students who will be at Rosewood, but we'll transport them back to that particular center for after-school care, which will allow the parents to pick them up at a space closer to their house, which is currently where those students are going to school. So we'll be doing before school and after-school care, obviously with supervision at the current Rosewood location. And then we'll work at Osceola, and we intend to bring very specific programming to access public dollars that parents are receiving through the scholarship to engage our teachers with advanced coursework, to engage our facility, whether it be co-op, whether it be the playground, whether it be the science classrooms. There are a new way of accessing and using public space and being provided public dollars that those families currently have for use of those space and use of the educators that we have currently on staff.
Okay. So I think I have exhausted all of my questions and concerns, and thank you for addressing them.
Okay, Dr. Pasca, do you think you want to say?
I'd just like to say again, I'm very excited about these innovative changes. We've been talking about them for a number of months, and it's really vital for this district and the community to focus on efficiency. And I think every county in the state of Florida should be looking at efficiency at their local government level. Because if you want a school district and a public school system that's going to be successful down the line, you have to eliminate the bloat in whatever form it exists in your county. Because if you are continuing to waste tax dollars, those are monies that you could then give teachers raises, buy more innovative school teaching items. Right now we have an economy where most people are really suffering. Energy costs are high, food costs are high, rent is high, forget about trying to buy a house. So obviously salaries have lagged for about a decade behind inflation, and inflation is, it's much higher than they're reporting it to be. So people are suffering, and if we allow government to do what government does, which is, at the end of the day, it's always easier to spend other people's money than it is to spend your own. You're always going to have more waste. If we continue to do that, down the line, you will have a broken public school system. You will have a community where you do not have the money to fix the roads properly. So doing this now sets us up for success later. So I'm very, very proud of the district for taking on this task, which is a monumental amount of work. And I think you're doing an excellent job, and I'm excited that we're reaching the execution phase of it, and I wish you guys the best.
Thank you.
Okay, Doc?
First of all, thank you, Dr. Moore, to you and your staff. This has been a lot of work. You're running the district while doing all these changes, and I know how much time it takes. I look back at the September meeting, and I remember saying to you, get out there and let the people know, and you did that 22 meetings later. And having been in this district for about 45 years, this is the hardest thing we've ever done in this public school system. I remember when Thompson became Osceola, and we became the Thompson Administrative Building, and people thought that was a big, big change. But we're doing this to continue to move forward. Recently at the FSBA conference, I met with quite a few board members from different counties, and I could say we are unique in being proactive, and I think that's important for all of us. You talked about relationships. People will say we're a business. We are a business, but we're a people business, and in order for it to really, really excel, you've got to establish those relationships. The feedback in the community, people will say this is hard, but they're listening, they're understanding. I know most of the time they will go to their principal and ask the questions, and I think the principals are doing a great job. But when we have that recruitment fair, Doc, I think it's, when that is scheduled, you know, having a great place for questions, for all these general questions, I think it will help our parents. As Dr. Posca said, people are kind of living day to day. They're looking at this and thinking, I know it's going to happen, but then it's going to happen in the spring, and they might have a lot of questions, so we've got to be there for them. I know the Health family from their students that went to the junior high and high school, so whatever we can do there, I think it's very, very important. It's very much a history in this county, especially in South Vero, and I know Chris and his family will be happy with what we can do to honor that family and honor the naming of that Oslo Middle. You know, one thing I'm very proud of is that we are accountable to taxpayers. Every penny you can see where we spend it in operating and in capital and in internal. So I'm very proud of that, and hopefully our taxpayers can see that we are doing the job we are to do when we get taxpayer money. And I think our public school systems do a great job with that. Just in general, you know, this was an enormous amount of work, and I think the community is happy that we're moving forward, and I just want to thank you very much.
Mr. Dyer?
Yeah, I think that this is a great end to a process that's been many months in the making. And, you know, I kind of thought about in the beginning, there's so much that's been happening to public education, from the financial challenges from the state and from the voucher program and from what I've been calling defunding of public schools, which I think is largely recognized. I think next year's budget, Mr. Green just told me, was around $6 million, of which 60–70% is going to the voucher program, and I think that the school district right now is proposed to get another maybe $1.4 million out of $6 million, so most of it is going again to the voucher program. There's a lot of things that are going on, but you know, kind of like that movie where they said there's no crying in baseball, well, there's really no whining in public education. And if there's anything that I would say that this district has done, is Dr. Moore and his team and this board have really met the challenge. And the challenges have been really multiple. How do you innovate? How do you take a district that has shown that it can go from a low B, C district to an A district to have majority of our schools, I think only 3 are Bs, no C or D, everything else is an A. 85% of our schools are A schools, not that way 4 or 5 years ago. So we've innovated in education, and now how do we meet the other challenges? How do we meet the financial challenge? Well, you have to do it by being more efficient. And I think you've met that head on, and have cut, even before we got here, another $7 million from the budget over the last couple of years. How do we continue to excel? How do we make sure that we take the great programs we have and the success that we have and ensure that it goes forward into the future? And really, how do we learn to compete? And I think we learn to compete by doing a number of things. One of them is being the best choice. We're not only the best choice, we're the quality choice. Our teachers are certified. We have state-approved curriculum. We are accountable. We are tested to the state in our grades, and you know exactly where you stand versus standards. So you know that we have a choice that is a quality choice in the community. And I think that leads me to another point, and that is there's a lot of change and there's a lot of choice that each family will have, and I hope that somehow we're going to be able to market and to do marketing to get to every family, to let them understand exactly what choices they have and find what the best choice is for their children. And I hope that we're going to really take that on right as we come back from after the holidays and try to develop a matrix almost for every kid and for every family, and help them make probably one of the most important choices they will make for their children. And then finally, I guess certainly the need to compete. We are in my opinion, the number one choice in Indian River County is right here in the school district. And as long as we continue to excel, spend the taxpayers' money wisely, and innovate, I think that we will be that way for many years to come. And so I just want to thank everybody involved, the staff, the board, the parents for coming out and giving us the ideas and being involved, and the unions who are here represented tonight. Thank you very much. It couldn't have happened without you guys really understanding the challenges and the needs, and also participating in making this a better plan. So thanks to all.
All right, thank you. I did attend a FSBA conference as well, and this isn't just happening to us. It's happening all over, not just the state of Florida, but the nation. The amount of babies being born has gone down. We live in a retirement community mostly, so we can expect this change. And then you put scholarships on top of it and all that. Good for us for thinking ahead instead of chasing the tail, so I appreciate that. I know, speaking to fellow board members across the state, that they were really amazed at some of the decisions that we are looking at doing. They haven't even gotten to that point yet. And I know it's going to be tougher for them because boundary changes are probably the toughest thing that you can go through when you sit on a board. And seeing very few people in this room tells me that it was well communicated. So kudos to you and your team for going out and listening. I was at one of those where there were a couple upset parents, and district staff went right to them and said, okay, what do you need? What can we think? And right there were some innovative things that were decided on, such as the Rosewood preschool and after-school program changes. That was decided right there when I was there, and it was really neat to see that parents were listened to, and that those ideas don't just come from the school district, they come from the community. So it's nice to hear that the community's involved in this and behind it. It's tough when you close schools, and people have, just like we heard in the email from Mr. Helseth, people have a lot of pride in their schools. And it's really tough when you see that either the mascot's going to change, or the school's going to close, or the name's going to change. And so we have to honor those histories, and we have to think of ways to do that. But we also have to move forward and come up with a really innovative plan for our kids. Our kids are learning things that we didn't learn in school, and they will continue to learn differently than we learned when we were in school. And so we have to keep thinking in a forward motion that way. So I appreciate all of your hard work on going and doing all the town halls, and staff for all of the innovative ideas that you came up with. I think it's a great plan. It has shifted and changed since the beginning, and I think it's shifted and changed for the right reasons. So thank you for listening to people and putting their input into the plan. All right, at this time I'd like to take a vote. So we have a motion and we have a second for the approval of the district's operational innovation and efficiency planning initiative rulemaking process in Chapter 120 Florida statutes, as noted. Call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? It passes 5-0. Congratulations.
Well, now the work begins. And Madam Chair, if I could just, the volume of work that we have put into this, and thank you for each of you for acknowledging that. As we just finished the PM2 assessments, the state's progress monitoring assessments, just a real quick update, and I'll send this to you before Friday.
I'm peeking at all the green over there.
Elementary school is 5% higher than it was this time last year. Middle school is 4% higher than it was this time last year. High school is the exact same space they were last year. But as a district, we're 5% higher than we were this time last year. And that is just, to me, the most exciting thing, because Team Basura typically is I don't want to sound mean, but out there in the schools supporting and making sure everything happens. And as we've taken on this new body of work, that's the principal's work. That's what they're doing right now. So it's so cool to see that we're continuing to outpace the state. the growth, the strategy, the commitment that our teachers and school sites are working, it's right there. So as we walk into this break, just so excited for what is going to be probably the most busiest next 8 months of our professional careers, because you approved the item, but man, the work that we got to do now to deliver on all these changes, it's exciting. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm sure social media, you'll be popping out all the new signs that go up and all the changes. And at this time then, I'll call for the closing. The meeting is going to be adjourned at 6:45.